So there are two human political groups out there in the stars. There's the Terran Republic, which is where Murphy's from, and there's the Terran League, which is actually a translation of the Chinese name for it. Okay. What happened was that, and this is all baked into the existing books. I mean, which were written, 90, 92, a long time ago. But the People's Republic of China came out on the short end of a war, pretty decisively on the short end of a war. And the war killed like 43 million people, and theater nukes were used. There was a certain degree of ill feeling, after it was all over. Well, the Chinese were... they were blamed for the war with a fair amount of justification. Okay. But they were really pissed because the Western cultural template won in the end. And shortly after the war, the other side formed the Federated Government of Earth, which is like, get rid of the UN. It never worked. It's a debating society. So we're going to build a government that can pass laws that are binding, et cetera. And China was invited to join and said, no, this is you're just trying to subjugate us. We're still like 20% of the world population, kind of thing. Well, kind of like the U.S. and the USSR in the 60s, there's a space race develops. But in this case, it's sending out generation ships. And the Federated Government of Earth is sending them out, and so are private entities in the Federated Government of Earth. The Chinese government is sending them out, and they're sending them in different directions. Okay, now, we're talking sublight generation ships, so you can't get a whole big bunch of separation, but that's the game plan. They're building separate spheres of influence. Okay, well, after about 100 years or so, the facet drive gets invented. And the facet drive is cool. Okay. The facet drive is basically a black hole generator on the nose of your ship. And it generates a black hole, and then your ship falls into it. And then the black hole moves because it's mounted on the end of your ship. And you fall into it again. It's... and you can accelerate like really, really fast with it. And you're in free fall the entire time because you're not accelerating. You're falling into the, until artificial gravity is invented. It's a good thing that they have to be such big ships because then you can put the rotation sections into them, kind of thing. Anyway, with the facet drive, speeds of like 300 times light speed are possible. And all of a sudden, it takes like a year to get from here to a star 300 light years away. But for the crew of the ship, it doesn't work that way because the way the facet drive works is you have to accelerate up to about 99% of the speed of light. And then you can break into what they call wormhole space. And the main difference between wormhole space and here is you still can't go faster than light in wormhole space. But because of the way that the dimensions and stuff fold together, you're going faster than light by the standards of the universe that you left. Okay. But you're going at 99% of the speed of light in there, which means that the time dilation effect means that if the voyage is a year long, for the guys making the voyage, it's only about a month. Okay? So you have these long distances, and in terms of actually projecting force or moving cargo, it might take a year to get there. But for the colonists or whatever, it's a month. Okay? So this really, really, really opened the door for bunches and bunches and bunches of colonization, which is when we ran into the Rish. And the Rish were like, God, the monkey boys are loose. And what they did is they decided we had to be dealt with. Okay, so they sat down and they studied us for about 20 years, working on, okay, what's the best way to do this? And they realized that, what had happened is after the facet drive became available, the Chinese kept sending out their colonies. And by this time there were other Asian elements in it as well. And they were basically, it's not like the Communist Party is still in power and it's establishing a dictatorship out in space. It's we are preserving our culture. We don't like the Western template. Those of us who like the Western template will stay. Those of us who don't like it will leave, kind of thing. And there are private groups in the FGE who are doing the same thing. They're founding colonies because they all want to go out and be Irish, or something like that. As a matter of fact, one of the systems in this book is the system of New Dublin, which is the one that Alicia's maternal grandfather is from New Dublin. Anyway, so with the facet drive, they could get further apart. Okay, so a lot of the old early colonies that were sublight colonies that were founded by the Chinese wind up, they're so close to the ones settled by the FGE that they kind of slide into that mainstream. The later colonies are further away, and they're going like this, and the Rishathan sphere is like over here somewhere. Okay. So the Rish decide they are going to be friends with humans. And they observe that there is this tradition of animosity between... The Terran Republic forms 200 years after the facet drive comes along. And it's primarily the FGE colonies are the ones that were closest to it. And it invites the other colonies to join, and they say, forget about it. And a few years later, they form the League in competition. It's not like they want to go to war, but it's still like, we came out here to be us, not you, kind of thing. So there's kind of this lingering tradition of dislike, but nobody's planning on opening hostilities anytime, just not going to happen. Except that the Rish start playing upon it. And the Terran League has this problem in that it's a little smaller to begin with, because it's primarily just the Chinese and their close friends and allies, whereas the entire rest of the human race was going, other places. But they're also more insular. And so there's more trade inside the Republic than there is inside the League. Okay? And the Republic has a bigger, stronger manufacturing base. And so the League, in many cases, is buying stuff from the Republic instead of the other way around. Okay. So there's that kind of, not enough they took our planet away from us back home 400 years ago. Now they're out here and they're, that kind of, stuff going on. It's like, that's a good example. It's like the yah-yah back and forth between the U.S. and Canada as opposed to the let's fight a war back and forth between Great Britain and France. Okay? I mean, that kind of thing. All right, well, the Rish start working on fanning this sense of resentment, and they also begin establishing hooks into both sides, where they have humans who are working for them, who in many cases don't even realize they're working for the Rish, et cetera. And then they begin engineering incidents. Okay, like a League passenger ship blows up and everybody on board is killed. And the League thinks it was sabotage. And the Republic, is just sabotage. And they investigate, and they can't find any evidence that it was sabotage. And they said it was accident navigation, kind of thing. Meanwhile, the Rish, who did sabotage the ship through their human cutouts, who they then eliminated, have leaked evidence to the League to prove that it was sabotage,
Okay.
but the league can't act on it because it's not, kind of thing. And then a little bit later, a Republican ship blows up. And the Republic is like, and in fact, it was leagueies who were like, okay, you blew up our ship with Aunt Agatha on it, okay, well, guess what?